It is time to check and reverse the growth of government, which shows signs of having grown beyond the consent of the governed. Government can and must provide opportunity, not smother it. Foster productivity, not stifle it.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. America's best days are yet to come.
From Delmar to Middletown, Bombay Hook to the Brandywine, Dover to Wilmington. This is the Caesar Rodney Institute Policy Podcast. Today, Caesar Rodney Institute Communications Director Sam Friedman talks about the Bloom Energy boondoggle with Lindsay Leveen, GreenExplored.com investigator and reporter. Here's Sam.
For those of our listeners who are not familiar with the local NBC investigation on Bloom Energy, can you just take us through what prompted them to actually do some investigation on Bloom and what they discovered when they talked to you?
So, about a year ago, before the Olympics that were in Sochi, I contacted NBC Investigates, and they said they were interested in the story, but with the Olympics, it would be hard to do, so I should wait till after the Olympics, and then they would do the investigation. Then they called me after the Olympics and said they'd like to get going, and that was about a year ago that they called me. So it was around April of 2014, and then they aired the piece in October of 2014. So they did about 6 or 7 months of extensive investigation. And that's how it got to the air. They were interested in the story because it's Silicon Valley. You know, they're a San Jose, California-based station, Silicon Valley, and they wanted to investigate Bloom. I didn't prompt them to do anything. They chose to investigate.
Lindsay, when we look at Bloom Energy, because every time we go to them, they come back and say that, you know, they show all these big corporate customers, all these states that are taking on their quote-unquote energy servers. Like, how are they able to, despite all the work that you've done, that John Nichols has done here in Delaware, continue to get people to buy into their fuel cells?
Well, what they tell the people is the false claims that it's much greener than the grid in California, which the NBC report showed not to be the case, and that they got no sulfur dioxide in the air and no nitrous oxide in the air, both of which are true, because they removed the sulfur and they have the solid waste that they've never told anyone about with sulfur, and their fuel cells operate at a low enough temperature that they don't have the nitrous oxides. But because the fuel cells operate at a low temperature, thermodynamics teaches us they're never going to get the efficiency that they claimed. And that was the thing that put me onto them way back when, was these false claims of efficiency that were impossible according to the laws of thermodynamics. And those are laws that were established 130 years ago. It's not like this is modern science. Thermodynamics has been understood probably for 130 years.
But when we look at Delaware, when this was passed here in our state in 2011, it was pretty clear that a lot of the elected officials really did not understand the science behind Bloom. And when I went to the Public Service Commission hearing where you were not allowed to call in to testify, the representative from Bloom Energy acknowledged that they never actually disclosed the science behind their products to the legislature because nobody asked and they weren't going to say anything. Lindsay, does anybody ever ask them about the science behind their products, or are you one of the few people that's really looked into it?
I'm probably one of the few people that looked into it, and now guys from Green Tech Media, which is a pretty prominent green website, have been critical of Bloom, and NBC's been critical of Bloom. Breitbart has been critical of Bloom. And the evidence is coming out that they're not what they said they were. What I think they told Delaware was that they were going to be so efficient and so good that they would establish this factory at the university where they do
And I guess...
And then they convinced Delaware that they should consider natural gas that comes from shale next door in Pennsylvania to be renewable, because what Bloom was really competing against was Delmarva buying wind power from a wind farm. And they had to... Delmarva was happy to walk away from that contract for the wind farm, because Delmarva would have had to put that on their balance sheet as debt. And with the Bloom deal, Delmarva gets to just act as the agent and collect the money each month, which is subsidized by the poor and middle class in Delaware. The politicians in Delaware thought they were going to get thousands of people employed, or nearly 1,000 people employed. But this Bloom device is so darn expensive it can't survive in the marketplace. It's so darn inefficient that it can't survive in the marketplace. And now we found out that it's so dirty it can't really claim to be green energy.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much. That was Lindsay Leveen, environmental blogger at greenexplored.com. And we thank Lindsay and John Nichols, local citizen activist, for all the work they've done on Bloom Energy. Our energy policy director, Dave Stevenson, and all his work is up at CaesarRodney.org. So please visit today. You can learn how you can impact Delaware. And do not forget to click that donate button, because all your support goes to helping our center directors do their great research. I'm Sam Friedman. Thank you for listening in. Don't forget to subscribe to our CRI YouTube channel so you'll be up to date on all the latest info on the Caesar Rodney Institute.